Let's face it, a move to the cloud is not without potential challenges and risks. In this nugget, let's analyze some of those. Is the application that you want to deliver to end users going to perform properly if we move to cloud? That is a big deal. This often is going to have to do with the bandwidth that we're going to experience with cloud technologies. Remember the delay that users might experience thanks to cloud delivery we call latency. This can directly relate to bandwidth. Maybe we have this great application, but users are going to be connecting via slow Wi-Fi connections, and the application performance is really going to suffer due to the constrained bandwidth. These are the types of considerations that we need to make. Oftentimes, we used to be concerned with like the CPU, the RAM that a system possessed. Notice these aren't as big a concerns, these aren't as big a risks these days with cloud technologies compared to something like bandwidth and latency when it comes to performance. The reason why CPU and RAM aren't as big a concerns is with cloud technologies, even private cloud technologies, we can virtualize CPU and RAM, and this tends to make the applications perform better with lesser amounts, and it's also typically easier for us to increase the number of CPU cores or the amount of virtual memory that an application can have. Suffice it to say, though, making sure that you can afford the right amount of CPU and RAM is still a risk when it comes to cloud technologies, as is storage speed. There are new technologies emerging in our cloud vendors, like in the case of Amazon Web Services, we have the Elastic Block Storage, or EBS, and this is an improvement over the traditional Simple Storage Service, or S3, that Amazon had used for a long time. And these EBS technologies are ensuring that the storage for virtual machines, for instance, act much more like hard drives and can give us the performance that we're looking for. All of this adds up, by the way, to our service level agreement, doesn't it? If we're going with a public cloud vendor, we need to make sure that we have in the contract the exact levels of service that we require, and we need to make sure that our cloud vendor is delivering upon those service levels that we need to make sure that our internal and external users of cloud services are happy. Other challenges and risks include data replication. For many organizations, they're not used to having multiple sites all over the world the way they can with cloud technologies, so they may not be educated and accustomed to replicating that information to the various sites. So this represents more of a challenge, I would say, than an actual risk. We need to adopt great replication strategies with our data to make sure it's continuously available to our customers all over the world. Something else that can be challenging is taking your internal data and integrating it into the cloud technologies. So this could also work in the opposite direction, taking data from the cloud, moving it internally, and making sure it seamlessly integrates with our organization. And of course, what you probably thought of as a primary challenge or risk is network security. Remember, when we adopt like public cloud technologies, we are typically talking about a shared responsibility model. We are going to be responsible for doing things like securing the traffic in and out of a virtual machine, and the cloud vendor is going to be responsible for securing another customer's VM from accessing our own. A great example would be physical security. The cloud vendor is going to be responsible for physical security. We'll be responsible for more of the logical security of traffic moving in and out of the virtual machine. So security is definitely a challenge, and we need to investigate this fully with the cloud vendor to make sure we are holding up our end of the shared responsibility model. So in this nugget, you and I took a look at many potential challenges and risks, and I would have to say, the two biggies. And if you're interested in the certification exam that coordinates to this topic, I would really encourage you to embrace the two biggies, and that would be performance and security. These are forefront on our minds when we start considering cloud adoptions. I hope this nugget was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.